Hope everyone's vibing, got some good gifts, appreciating their time with their families or whoever you're with. That's what Chanukah's all about.
Enjoy it.
That's what we're going to talk about today.
Don't forget to get lit.
Oh, I may have said that last night too.
Oh, maybe.
To get lit. No, I didn't say it to you. By the way, get to know you about the podcast, about getting to know ourselves through God and God through ourselves.
Right.
I'm Eitan Safra.
Sorry, I'm Yosef Topek.
Rav Dr. Yosef Topek. Always going to have to make the correction.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, so today I thought we would talk about, obviously, our topic of getting to know Hashem through yourself and getting to know yourself through Hashem, but relating it back to Chanukah. And, I was just reflecting last night as I was lighting my menorah, today a bit, like where do those two ideas intersect? And
lighting the menorah?
Not just lighting the menorah, Chanukah in general.
Okay.
And Hashem and our relationship with Hashem. So the first thing I was thinking about was, what are some ways that we connect to Hashem during Chanukah? Just like very simply, Chanukah is all about thanking Hashem. Last night I heard, I was at a Tish. You were there.
It was beautiful. Yeshiva. The Rav gave a beautiful Dvar Torah.
Thank you. Maybe we'll share that a little later. But the first person that spoke was the Mashgiach of the Yeshiva, of Ashreinu, Rabbi Wogi. And he asked the question of like certain holidays, Purim, for example, like there's times you have to do your mitzvah. You have to do Shalach Manos. You have to do the Suda. There are things you need to do. Chanukah,
right.
Like, okay, we have to light the menorah, but also Chanukah is about giving thanks to Hashem. And when do we do that? And I don't know if you remember what he said.
Always.
Every second. So how do we relate the entire 8 days to connecting to Hashem? So
right. Well, do you think it's on a personal angle, or it's like still through Chanukah, or do we use Chanukah to take the opportunity to reflect ourselves?
That's a great question. I think it's probably both. I think definitely on the more, general level, it's about reflecting that everything that happened, the miracles and everything else that goes into Chanukah was through Hashem.
Right.
Giving thanks, who are we giving thanks to? Hashem. That's working on the relationship right there.
Right.
But then, I think if we bring it down to a personal level, then that brings up a lot more questions and a lot more
things
thoughts
that we have to be aware of.
Yeah. Like, the next thing was, we're talking about miracles, right? So I think for sure Chanukah brings out that idea of miracles that have happened to us, or that happened to us, forget happened.
Right.
And, something good for everybody to think about. And of course, you're welcome to email it into us. Different things that have happened in your life that you reflect on either at the time or later and realize like, wow, that was a miracle. And I use the word miracle meaning anytime things just kind of
happen out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? I may have brought it up to you before, but like, let's say the Holocaust. You hear personal stories of people that made it out, and like, wow, that's a miracle. That this happened and this happened, and they took you in. You went on this bus. But my friend presented an argument on the other side where like he's a math guy, so like statistically, like they weren't gonna get everyone. Just realistically, some people were gonna get out, and crazy things were gonna happen for those people to like make it out. So like, where's the miracle in that? To me, it's still in the details. But he was saying the details had to be crazy. So I'm just wondering what you think about that.
Well, I think that perhaps maybe those kinds of things are taken more to the personal level. Like for the person that it happened to, like they're going to think about the details and they're going to say, yeah, it had to happen this way, that way, but come on. Like,
right.
It was incredible.
You're saying as in like an outsider, like we're minimizing still the details. Like
that's what I think.
That's happening to you. You see everyone doing this, and like, you see all the things that went right for you. It's like, it's hard to feel that that's by chance.
Right. There's so many things that have happened in my life, could be I've spoken about here on the podcast, that have brought me to where I am today. Without that one thing happening, it wouldn't have led to this, to lead to this, to lead to this.
And right.
And somebody could think and be like, what do you mean? Like, that's not a miracle. Like you ended up there.
It's the butterfly effect.
But to me personally,
I hear that.
No, that had to
happen
that way.
Yeah. So we all have a lot of those stories. So for me, that like the first thing that comes to mind is in high school. When I was in 8th grade, I didn't care I was going to high school. Sorry guys to break it to you, but I may not have been the best student growing up.
No.
I'm a good Talmud. I'm not a good student.
I got you.
So I didn't care I was going to high school. I got into one high school, didn't get into the other. I didn't care. I'm like, fine, I'll go there. And then like when I hit right before, I'm like, oh, I do care where I go to high school. Like this is gonna be my next 4 years. And I realized that the other place would have been a better fit for me. And I tried everything I could to go to this school, and it made sense. Like I should have been able to. It should not have been like difficult at all. There were connections and family, all of it. people reaching out. Didn't work out. And then it's ninth grade, but they told me keep reaching out. So ninth grade, I really focused on doing well so I could switch. And I was. And they kept saying 3 months, 3 months. And at one point I'm like, I'm never gonna like be here if I keep thinking I'm gonna be there. And I switched my mentality and had like the best high school experience. Like I
Wow.
see now like everything, like there were so many people that I met, experiences that happened that like really, really like shaped me for the little moments and the big moments. Ended up in little situations that changed me and huge situations that changed me. But like, so there's moments in our lives where we could be like, it was a day or that was 4 years. So like, it didn't make sense in the moment. Like, but my high school like is gonna affect everything.
That's right. And as somebody who personally experienced it, you can like go back to that point in time when it was like that's what changed it. That's what made it happen.
Yeah, what just came to my mind is like the moment of like me in eighth grade, like let's say crying to Hashem, like, hey, like I need help, I need help. But like I know now that God's thinking like, nah, like I know you're upset, but like don't worry, I got you. You're good.
Isn't that
You're
incredible?
upset now, and you're gonna be like, I can't believe I was even upset about it.
That's just amazing. I think it's beautiful, first of all, that you cried that Hashem in eighth grade.
I don't know if I was crying,
I
but just to emphasize.
no, I remember crying, also school related, but to my parents. Like they pulled me out of a school and put me in another school, and I was so upset and scared and worried. And I say with 100% certainty, had that not happened, I would not have ended up in yeshiva,
Right.
whatever.
Put you on a whole new trajectory.
But I love that. I never thought of it in the terms of like I was crying, and Hashem was like, "I got you. Like this is where you need to be.
Right.
Like, just trust me."
There's two things I want to say. One, I think about it a lot. Well, you're a father, so I'm sure you can relate to this a lot. When I was a shadow this summer, and like there were times where like my camper was very upset, and like I literally just thought to myself, it's okay that he's upset. And like there's a line that I wrote to myself, a Eitan quote, first one of the day, episode 3.
Let's go.
So I think God has this for us, like, I'll let you fall, but I won't let you break. He was upset. I'm like, okay, you're allowed to be upset. Someone was bothering you, you're being annoying, valid. I'm here to make sure it doesn't go so far, but this is part of the experience. So God does the same thing to us. It's just harder to be on that other side because we're that kid that can see see the bigger picture.
Right. Yeah, and that I mean, I'm trying to think as we're talking, like how does it
I'm
relate?
spitting.
What?
I'm spitting right now.
What does that mean?
It's like spitting bars,
Oh, okay.
saying facts.
Got it. Sorry, he's spitting.
But you were a cool kid, right? It was a different generation.
In the 80s, we weren't spitting. we were doing other things. We were tripping and we were fronting.
Oh, we're still tripping now. I don't know
Yeah,
if
you're
we're
still
fronting.
tripping now.
Yeah.
We were fronting. Yeah, we did a lot of fronting. But Hanukkah is all about the miracles, tying it back in here.
Right.
And I like that we're like taking the word miracle and we're just kind of saying like the hashgacha pratis of it all.
Are you also thinking about the Maccabees song? In the miracle, and I seen in the miracle. It's good vibes.
And there's a reason they have that song for Hanukkah. So I'm wondering if like we can think if there's any like miracles that you can reflect on. And I don't mean like huge miracles, meaning like anything that's happened recently in your life
where I felt like Hashem was by my side.
Yeah, that you realize, and it could be after the fact that you realize, okay, this needed to happen for that to happen, or even like, different, even like I crossed the street and it was a miracle.
Right.
I didn't get hit.
So I try to focus more on the smaller ones because with the spiraling, like I'm a very fast thinker. Usually like I don't find the answers. So I like doing that better, like in retrospect, like, seeing how that, whatever. I don't want to see maybe this happened because now I'm going to this. Sometimes I'll do that. But like I speak about in the podcast a lot is like, I really like to find Hashem in the small moments because that's what makes me feel close. The closer you feel with someone is like, for me, I define it by, do I have you for the chill moments? Can I just hang out with you like casually, or can I come to you when I need something? So I try to like have both with God, like a friend almost. So like if I remember like 2 months ago, I was on a bus and I was standing up to like get off, like as it was still moving, and it like short stopped and like I flew backwards and I landed on the seat. And then the bus stopped and I just stood up and went off. And I thought right away, like, this could be something that I would never think twice about, ever. But I'm going to think, like, this was Hashem rewarding me because I was having some, like, good thoughts about Hashem on the bus. And, like, not that, like, it would have been the worst thing if I fell. Like, I don't think I would have gotten hurt, but just, like, the embarrassment of, like, the situation. Like, oh, my God. Everyone's like, are you okay? Are you okay? Like, yes, I'm fine. I'm going to get up. Like, he's like, okay, you don't need to have that right now. Like, I'm with you. I got you.
Right. I think that's great. I think that these moments, when you said, like, the small moments, that's like that intimacy with that relationship with Hashem.
They're not really small.
You call it like friend. I call it Yeah, the same thing, but like intimate. Like
I shouldn't
Hashem,
call it a friend. I'm very disrespectful.
I don't know, very. No, I'm joking. But I think no, but like what I said before about like, we're crying and Hashem is like, I got you. That's like an intimate moment.
Right.
Like you're looking at
You're
Hashem.
being vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
How
yeah.
could we be better at being okay with not being okay?
How can we be better with being okay with not being okay? It's very hard. It's a huge challenge. You said a minute ago, and it's very easy to do when you look at the whole thing. Like, yeah, in sixth grade, seventh grade, whatever it was, I was crying. I wasn't okay. Now that it's a few years later, I can look back and be totally not just okay, but grateful.
Right.
But being
Right.
okay in the moment when things are hard,
That's Imuna.
yeah, it's really, really difficult. It's really hard.
It's also hard to connect a lot of struggles to God. Like we think God could help us. Do you ever view it as like God's giving it to us too? Because it is. Like not I'm not saying it in a negative way where it's like, God, why are you doing this? Like God, like, oh, like, you think I should be doing this right now. No, not you think. You know that this is what I need right now. So maybe if we view it like that, that's another part of accepting being okay without being okay. This is hard for me, but like I know that you need me to feel this way. I know that I need me to feel this way.
I think it's an incredible level to be at.
100%.
Because not just that, you're not fighting anymore. Like how amazing would it be if I could do my hishtadlus? I could do what's hishtadlus. I could do everything that I need to do for something,
Right.
and then even if it doesn't work out, to be able to sit back and just be like, okay, I did all I could. Hashem, I realized that right now this is not supposed to happen,
You mentioned
and I'm
either
okay with that.
you said that actually that you're you feel closest to Hashem when you're at the bottom because you know you've done everything you could.
Yeah,
So that's also a high level right there. That I find that place hard to reach.
it is though. It's hard. It's not an easy place to be.
But we need
Yeah,
those moments to
right, and it's
appreciate the
where
top
we
ones.
correct, and
I
it's definitely where we
also
have to be.
I feel like when I was younger, like I said, like if we're davening to like God when I don't know, sixth, seventh grade, like I feel like my relationship with God like wasn't genuine yet. I'm sure he still appreciated it, but like I feel like it was more like a give and take. Like, oh, I'm davening because I want this. It's like God give me this, and I still have that aspect now, but I didn't like find God on my own. I just was told there was a God. I believed it. Yes, I had connection, but like it wasn't mine yet. It was only once like I veered off a little bit and found my way back on that like I realized that this is something that's important. This is something I'm actually connected to. Because it's hard. I feel like growing up, like I was just going through the motions.
I think we're supposed to. Like, I don't think we don't need to be there every second of every day. Then we're not,
Mentally, you're saying?
yeah, then we're not relatable. We're not,
No, agreed to go through the motions, but I think when it comes to religion and kids in general, it's hard because like I did everything because I was told to. So what happened when I got to high school? It was ninth and 10th grade, and I started like some of my friends were starting to do some other things that were less in line with their religious values, and I'm like, oh, this could be fun. And even though I was religious before that, it's like I didn't have anything that was like holding on to me besides that like the motions and like my personality combined with being a high school kid is like I was like entering the rebellious phase where it's like screw this like
right.
so thank God I had some people later on like help like find get me back and like really build my own connection. But how can we like help kids who are like just going through the motions like in a more genuine way feel connected? So
Mm-hmm.
like because in our own way we all need something to fall back on when like our normals aren't going right.
I'm very excited now because I'm going to mention one of my favorite things, which is, wait for it,
Cheesecake.
my another one of my favorite things. I was driving.
Do you like cheesecake?
I was driving a few years ago. I do like cheesecake.
Okay.
I was driving a few years ago with one of my daughters in the car. It was right here in my neighborhood. We're in my neighborhood, so I'm pointing there because it happened right behind. And I went out into the street, and I guess I didn't look when I was leaving my parking lot. And this other car came like racing, and he almost hit me. And I stopped, and he stopped, and he rolled down his window. It was like Erev Shavuos, and he goes, "Go eat more of your cheesecake."
He said cheesecake?
Yeah, he said cheesecake.
I had no idea.
And I looked at,
is that crazy?
that's it, just totally sparked.
Did you think that I knew the story when I said cheesecake?
I thought maybe I told you.
Whoa.
But I looked at my daughter. I'm like,
oh
why
my
cheesecake?
God.
And my daughter,
Hashem is here right now. This is one of those miracle
It is,
moments.
right? bless her heart, she says, well, Daddy, he said it because he knows that you're religious and on Shavuos, so eat cheesecake. And I said, you don't think he said it because maybe I'm a little chubby? She's like, No.
That's how you raise a kid right there.
That very sweet. She
Write
was
that
really
down.
sweet. That's right, everybody.
Wow.
But anyway, aside from cheesecake, Chanoch l'naro pidarko.
Favorite line.
And it says, why do we need to educate a child according to their ways? The reason is because otherwise, when they grow up, they will veer from the teachings.
Boom.
Why will they veer from the teachings? Because when they're a kid, you could tell them, if you do that, you're grounded. If you do this, da da da. When they grow up, they're like, no one's here to tell me what to do. I'll do whatever I want.
Right.
But if you educate them how they need to be when they're younger, they'll learn to love it. They'll learn to accept it.
I think there's a big struggle with that because when I'm older, like trying to find my Judaism, I could say like I struggle with Lashon Hara. I don't feel connected to this. When you're younger, like you don't. I didn't have those thoughts going on.
Right.
I wasn't like asking like good religious questions because your life, you're a kid. You're just going through the motions. So how do you like use Chanoch al Pi Darko, teach one themselves when like themselves is a lot of like going through the motions, you know? Because it's
Right.
even though here's the thing, because we're all going through like our own motions. So like I agree, teaching everyone the same way like isn't going to work for everyone.
Right. So what I think my personal view and answer is 2 words, which is love and fun.
Best 2 words, honestly.
That means that a kid, even if they're not like deep and thinking and having these thoughts, but when they grow up, they can think like, I had that Rebbe when I was younger.
Positive association.
Right? And he loved me and he was fun. I want to be like that guy.
I hear that.
Or I want to have whatever he had. Or I went to his house and I saw how he was with his family. That's what I want.
Right.
Sometimes that's all we can do because kids aren't going to remember when they get older. Some
details.
Kids might, but most will not remember the details. They're going to remember, and I think I've said this here before. It's worth to say it again. That's what I tell my counselors at camp is they all say like, because I have the youngest division, right? I don't want to be a counselor for these little kids. You know, I can't really make a difference in their life. Like the older kids, you can like inspire and
right.
where it sits this, you can get them to daven and feel
have a real conversation.
Right, a real conversation. So I said, that's not what we're doing with these kids. With these kids, what we're doing is we are taking a kid and we are changing the trajectory of his life.
Right.
We could take a kid who's sad and who feels like he can't do anything, make him feel like he can do anything. And now instead of his life going that way, it's going this way.
That's such a beautiful insight. Wow.
And
camp's really important for kids.
Camp I love. Don't even get me started. Yeah, we know that.
Separate camp podcast, maybe.
Right. No, totally. But I think that kind of answers the question. Like that's what we can do for kids.
Right.
We can just change their view.
I think it's such a good answer. Like you're explaining that the value of positive association is not something like to be slept on. Like positive association is huge. And something I connect this to in my life now is that I'm in, let's call it secular college. It's in Israel, but whatever. And there's so many people that are like Jewish, but they're not religious. But if you talk to them, oh, when I get married, Shomer Shabbat, kosher, of course. And like I always ask them like why, and like they'll all say their own versions of that, where it's like they had it growing up, they saw it growing up, like they had always a positive association towards it, and like even without the depth, you can still show someone the value of something, and that's maybe you could like see the depths later. But yeah, I guess it really is good to leave people with a good taste.
Yeah,
love and fun.
So. Love and fun.
How can we show ourselves more love and fun? Where do we lose that before we need to show ourselves that?
What do you mean, where do we lose that?
I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but I wanted to talk about it. Like, right? You see the young people, like the kids, the babies, and like you love it. It makes you happy. They're so pure. And then like you see old people. I have this old guy in my building. I help him walk out sometimes. Like he's so pure. Like there's something to it. Like where are we going wrong in between that? Like we don't see the same purity in ourselves and others.
We get caught up in the rat race. We don't have. There's no. And I say this to myself, not to everybody else, because I'll go for weeks and months. We just don't have the time or the headspace to stop and reflect.
Right.
Life can get so busy. And I think we make ourselves busy and we make ourselves crazy. I'm not here saying like, oh, I'm the busiest person. I have so much going on. But we make ourselves busy because we obsess over things. And
right.
We
for sure.
You know, and that's, I think, where we lose it.
Yeah. Do you think it's more important to reflect by yourself or with someone else? Obviously both are important.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Maybe there's not even an answer.
Yeah, I don't think there is an answer.
No, I definitely hear that.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably easier. I don't want to say that. For me, it's easier to reflect with somebody else. just because I like to talk and I like to be with people.
Right. I think so too. I think when you talk, I find that in my head, like I have biases, whether that's favoring biases or less favoring biases, like being mean to myself. Once I talk, it's like I'm getting a more clear picture. It's leaving my head. Like I also feel speaking is more clarifying than anything else. That's for me also.
No, I
And being
agree.
heard, being seen. So
Yeah,
I'm with you on that one.
that's what we're doing here.
Exactly. Get to know you.
That's
Back
what
to what I said before though about the old and the young people. Like I think I just had this thought where it's like the young people they don't know better, so they're just happy, and the old people finally do know better. They're like, what was I obsessing over? Like,
oh, I like that a lot.
so maybe we could take a part of the young generation and the old generation and let that be the middle generation. The young, the bliss, the fun of just enjoying life without having to care, and the little bit of older expertise being like, does this really matter? Do I have to stress about this? Like, wouldn't that be like the middle ground in theory should be the
It
best.
should be the best,
You
right?
get the best of both
Yeah,
worlds.
it really should be, but it's not. Yeah.
Well, I think that's on us now.
Where do you think that starts? That the middle ground.
It's tough. I think it starts like you start getting a taste of it at like 17, 18.
Okay.
I think because here's what I see. It's like going back to high school. In ninth grade, everyone's just figuring it out. Everyone's ridiculous. 10th grade, you have your friends, but like 10th grade summer, everyone comes back and like people are a little more normal. Like
I like that more
10th
normal
grade is when like guys and girls start having like a little bit more like mature
awareness.
relationships. Like, yeah, like then you have like 11th grade where it's like, I think people are starting to really grow. And then like by senior year, like you realize that like you just have a normal conversation with someone
You're
now.
a person.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like 17 is like you start to, I don't know, because in high school also it's like the whole thing of maturing is that it's your younger and older side pulling to you. So I think that's when the older thoughts start coming in. It's
Right.
like, who am I? Because it's at that point you're starting to access those thoughts. So like,
Yeah. I mean,
who's joining us? Sheesh. He'll
I don't
see
know who
us.
that
He'll see
was.
us live.
Who has that doing? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
That was
pers-
Eliyahu Navi.
oh, that's a miracle.
Yeah.
I personally love the age where, and I love the word you said, ridiculous. I love that age. Just to be ridiculous, like it's so great. It's so fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of every stage is a little bit the funnest because you get the tools of the next one, but like you don't have to have the right mentality yet. So in ninth grade, like you get those high school freedoms.
That's right.
But you're still a stupid little eighth
You are.
grader
You're still
having
a little
fun.
kid.
But now you have more freeze and you're on a better schedule. I find that also like I guess 17 also a little bit like before the gear like shifts, I could drive, but I'm still just going to hang out with my friends, stay
No,
out till
right.
3 a.m. Like,
I don't have to drive to work and be
yeah,
responsible.
mom, no, I'm 17, leave me alone. My mom's like, act 17 then. I'm like, I am, like, because
Exactly.
it's both. Like,
I'm thinking about right. I'm like totally thinking about camp now because we talked about it for a
let's talk
second.
about camp.
No, just that word, ridiculous. Like to me, like that's camp. Like even I can be ridiculous.
Right.
Like you could be. The reason I do this young age is because they're so pure. They haven't gotten into.
Just running around like lunatics,
Yeah.
wearing weird hats.
They
Like,
haven't gotten into. That's really good. They haven't gotten into girls even. They haven't gotten into whatever else we want to,
camp's about having
imagine.
fun at that age. Like,
Yeah.
let's have fun.
Wearing ridiculous hats.
And
That's
let's be dumb in the bunk. Let's make a
Right.
mess. It's funny because I went to camp for 13 years. I think I'm finally on a break, but this past summer I wasn't supposed to go. And then when I did an interview with someone, like that was one of the things she said that like kept me hooked. Like it reminded me of that part of camp. She's like, we're all just gonna wear weird costumes. Like everyone's gonna like say weird chants.
It's
like,
so funny. It's so true.
but like I like that. I'm like, okay, I could do another summer of that. Did I like it? No, but like.
You didn't enjoy it.
Not those parts of it I did. Like on the first day, everyone's wearing their jerseys, we're jumping, like it's fun. But at the same time, it's like I'm just a little burnt out from all of it.
I hear it.
I want to come back, but in a different mentality, different stage. Right now, it's not working for me.
I'm wondering, like, bringing it back to our topic, not as much Hanukkah, but just our overall
Get to know you.
Hashem, relating that ridiculousness to it. Like the I don't want to say ridiculous in the same sentence that I say Hashem, but it's more like that freedom to just be, and that choice to just be trusting that there's somebody that's going to take care of it. I can wear a silly hat and I can have fun and not obsess over the things that I obsess about.
Right.
Always, like when camp is over, are we heading back to the real life, or are we leaving the real life. When I was, I think I've maybe I've told you this. When I was getting ready to leave Kolo, I said to somebody, or maybe it was before that, I said, I just want to get out and
Start the real world. Start my
right.
real life. Yeah.
And the guy looked at me, he's like, are you out of your mind?
Right.
It's like, this is real. And it sits with me all the time to today.
I hear
It's
that.
so true.
Yeah. I think there's no answer, but like what I realized like last year is like your world could be whatever you want your world to be.
Right.
If you want to be Amish, you can be Amish, and no one can say that's not the real world. Like, is there like a more public place? Yeah, absolutely. But
the obsessing over things that are not in our control, that's not real. It's not, because there's no realness. The real would be,
it's hard to accept it's not in your control.
right. It's very hard. I'm not saying it's not hard. And it's also hard to understand, like, at what point.
How much shashalis do I have to do?
And that's all very hard. And we can spend hours on that question.
Right.
But at some point.
Well, I think reflecting is a good way to like realize how much. It's like take a step back and like try to get rid of your emotion and say like, what's going on? What could I do? And like, did I do these things?
Right.
Just be more effective.
Exactly. At some point we realize we're done. We did what we could do.
Right.
And I think that's real.
So is that realization of like the done, I did what I do supposed to be like relieving, or like can you like, I guess that's the goal, because you could say I'm done and still feel stressed about it, but I think
then you're not really done. I think once you're done, it's relieving, because you're saying I've really done what I can do, and now we're in Hashem's territory, and I'm trusting Hashem that if it doesn't work out, it's because it's not supposed to.
Right.
And that's real. So it's not just I've done what I can do, but I'm stressing, is it going to work? It's I've done what I can do. If it's supposed to happen, it will. If it doesn't, it's not.
Okay, I'm going to ask a crazy question. Everyone at home, like really think about this too. Like, if you could take full control like over your life for a week, would you?
That's a great question. I have to give it more thought.
Like the easy answer is yes, but like at the same time, is like then we're not really trusting that it's best. We keep saying, "Oh, Hashem knows what's best," but if we believe we're getting the best, then why would I want anything else?
Because we don't know. Because we're not perfect.
It's hard to believe it.
Like I'm thinking now, I would for sure say yes, but that like goes against everything that we're working towards.
Yeah.
So maybe that's like the goal, is to be at that place where we say, no,
this is genuinely the best for me.
Yeah. And that's what also, like, let's bring in like happiness. That's what happiness is. Just being content.
Right.
Like just.
Yeah. I think people confuse happiness for content. I think happiness is a feeling that comes and go, but content is what you should work towards. Yeah. There's no working towards being happy. I think if you're content, you're way closer to being happy. Like if you're, now I can show them. If you're going like this, like, if you're moving across for the people listening too, like, then it's just, you don't have to go up all the steps to be happy, because content is already step number 7.
Right.
And then I guess also if you're content, is it harder to be sad or no? Or is content neutral? It's not.
Right. It's not. I think it's harder to be, if you're content, it's harder to be anxious and harder to be sad about that. But
right, sad's also an emotion that comes and goes.
There's still going to be things in your life that make you sad.
So what's the opposite of content? Is it anxious?
So non-content. It's
non-content.
I don't know if the exact opposite is anxious, but how I look at it, it is content is being relaxed. I've done what I can do, and anxious is being like I'm not settled. I'm not settled. There's anxieties about.
Okay.
A slew of different things.
Right.
But in terms of like this, content with my life and being anxious with my life, I think.
Right. Well, for fast thinkers like us, and for like the faster paced like generation in general, like with so many thoughts flowing all the time, like how do you manage them? Like stay content, because it's very easy to always there's always something to get lost in.
Right.
So you could find content in one area, and then 10 minutes later, like, oh my God, this just happened. Like, I'm bugging out.
And that's what I was saying before about like, we're so busy. We're so
right.
Really, we're not so busy. We're just fast.
We are fast. Should we slow down?
We can't be content with one thing. I think we should slow down. I think in life, everybody should slow down.
Right.
I said, someone's making a bar mitzvah this Shabbos, and I saw him at the store yesterday, and I went over, I said, oh, Mazel Tov, you're getting ready. And said, okay, it should be great. And then I'm leaving, and I turned around and I said, I want to just tell you one thing. Enjoy the moments. It's going to fly by so quick, the simcha. Take a few times during the simcha to stop, reflect, and just look at where you are and enjoy it.
Right.
Be in the moment.
I
And
hear
that's what we
that.
have to do, like, in
So
life.
is that for that it's appreciation, but one who doesn't reflect, like what are they missing out on?
Everything. Like Hanukkah, right?
Yeah.
I love Hanukkah. I don't.
Happy Hanukkah, guys.
That's right. I don't know why I love Hanukkah. I just love it. I
Po-
love lighting the
Positive association
menorah.
from when you were younger.
Definitely Hanukkah growing up in my house.
Vibes.
Wow. But lighting the menorah, stopping, like in my house, we try to do something like after we light the menorah, we all try to sit together for a half hour, play games, tell stories,
Beautiful.
jokes. No electronics, just
Quality
be.
quality time.
And I love it, and I love everything about it, and whatever. So I remember so many years that like we lit that first candle, we said Shachiano, and then before I know it, like how did we get to night number 8?
Always.
But maybe now if we just stop along the way and reflect
It's
and
not
be
how
present.
it's not how do we get to number 8.
Right.
It's like I moved with it.
Exactly. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I moved quote
I moved
moving
with
with
it.
it. Well,
I,
turn that
so
into a quote, but
right.
I love that.
So I actually use the quote "moving with it" for something else, but it works nicely here.
Yeah.
I use "moving with it" for like when we're having a discomfort. This actually ties into what we're talking about very nicely. Like we're having a discomfort, it's from God, and like okay, whether or not you associate that, okay, you have a discomfort. Like I would always try to go for the quick fix, and usually the quick fix is like an area that I don't want to be going to because it goes against my values. Yes, there's some healthier quick fixes, no problem to do those. But to move with it means to like accept it that this is the situation, whether you want to say that's from God, from whatever. This is okay. I'm gonna move with it, and maybe I'll be a little bit upset about it. That's also okay. But when it's not like stopping me back, I'm still doing what I need to do, and feeling upset about that, like I find it easier to like veer away from that.
Wow.
It doesn't like define me. It doesn't control me. It's just like a part of me, and that's okay.
Very nice. I like that. And that the next thing that I had written down here was kind of ties into this, which is thanking Hashem for everything. At first, I thought like thanking Hashem for all miracles, big and
right.
small. But
I was
now
going to
it's
say
like,
everything means everything.
right? Like what you just said is, when things are going bad,
right?
I'm kind of cringy because like we really do have to thank Hashem for that. That
right.
is so hard though.
So I think we do. It would probably be like the level of like a true tzaddik to like thank Hashem for it in the moment. Even thanking Hashem past the moment is good.
Sorry,
like that's okay. You're putting down your ego a little bit. You're saying Hashem, I was wrong. You were right. Like that's good. So I remember one night last year, I was actually here. I was walking back, and there was something on my mind that was like really, really bothering me, and I was struggling with, and I didn't have clarity on it, and I was frustrated. But like I was working my emunah, and I realized that like this struggle is really from God, and I couldn't bring myself to genuinely say like Hashem, thank you for this. But like I said, I looked up and I said like I'm okay with this, which is a level like I know there's level. Yeah. I'll pat myself for that one for sure. There's take levels. There's for sure levels more. There's sometimes I could thank for the struggle, but it's in the moment of feeling the struggle, like it's tough.
Yeah,
that's really really tough. Does God want us to thank Him there? It definitely doesn't expect us to. Well, maybe to each our own level.
Right. I think that maybe the goal is more to just be content with even if things are going bad. Like, like it's okay. I'm not gonna. By content, I mean I'm not gonna fight it. Like I'm not gonna try to fix it. And that's kind of what that's acceptance, right? We have to get to a place when things are going bad for us, or something sad happens, or something bad happens. I don't even want to say examples, right? But we can all think of those.
We can't think until we accept. Acceptance first. Accept that this is what needs to be going on right now.
And maybe that's all we need to get to. Maybe thanking Hashem is like an impossible level. If something really bad happens, and again, I don't want to say what, maybe it's really impossible for us to get to a level where we say thank you. I don't know.
I hear that. Yeah, for like to me, it also doesn't sound applicable, but like acceptance is definitely a good place to start. Where like it's just like I'm okay with this. I'm okay not being okay.
Right.
And that's because there's a bigger picture going on. Like I always like I brought up my camper story, how like when he was upset and I thought like, hey, I'll let you fall, but I won't let you break. Like God will have the same.
Right.
Something that scares me. I think about this a lot. Oh man, I gotta slow down the thoughts. Like sometimes like I'll think about like sad things that could happen that like would make me like I don't want to say question God, but like why He would do that to me. Obviously, there's a bigger picture, but like so sometimes I'll think like a few certain things, throw my keep off, walk right out, and I don't like that. Like I know that's not the right way to handle it. But at the same time, is like how do I differentiate that? Like Hashem is like the all knowing, knows the best, but at the same time, it's like it's a relationship. Like I'm allowed to have
You're
expectations in a
allowed to,
relationship.
correct, and you're allowed to be upset.
You
You're
know,
allowed
like
to.
there are certain things that like yes, there are strong relationships, but like there are things that could break relationships, even with history. Like
Hmm.
there's a loyalty aspect. So
There
like
is.
so, but then I feel disrespectful because I'm coming off that God owes me. But in a relationship, like you do want to be met. Like
Right, but listen. First off, a relationship with Hashem is not. It's a different kind of relationship.
right.
As much as we say it isn't, it is. Right. I guess the closest we can think of is a child to their parent. Like our parents don't really owe us. They don't. Even in a relationship, like in the
I
end
never
of the
liked
day.
that. People always said that. I never agreed with it. The kid didn't choose to be there. Do they owe everything they do? No.
All
Yo,
right. Okay.
fans, big apologies. I didn't check on my time and got a notification and cut out like 20 minutes of really, really good stuff.
Correct. But it was nice to have the chat
It was
with
valuable for
Eitan.
me, 100%.
For me as well.
100%. So apologies to you guys that you guys aren't going to get to hear that because, it was an in the moment thing. But we will finish up on this conversation that you guys just watched and we'll wrap it up. So we're talking about what God owes us for his. What happened was, you guys missed it. I had this whole epiphany of like, because I always think that like God does owe us.
Right.
God owes us because he brought us here, same as the parent.
Right.
But then I realized like, oh, what the parent owes us, like, I don't know if this was recorded or not, but like you said that the parent owes us what we need, like the love and the care.
Right.
And so if we were to make a list of what we need, I realized that I have that and that everything else I have is just on top of it, love, extra. And that like, that's appreciation right there. Is that like, wow, like what we get, what we're owed. Oh, and part of it was also saying that like with God, we don't always know what we need, but like we could decide ourselves what we need and then also accept that like God knows even more what we need because he knows us better than we know us.
Trusting that God is going to give us what we need because he knows what we need. Guys, when Eitan had this epiphany originally, you could see on his face.
I showed it to the camera.
You missed it. It was like
I was like,
it was like this big.
Because I've had that thought for a while. Like I never like really delved into it, but like it's not that I even thought that like God wasn't giving me what I was owed. I just disagreed that like I still stand that like God owes us, but that like if we could ourselves, we could realize that it's met, and then separately like
making that connection.
We don't know, and like God gives us what we need, and so much more. Like it's about the parents and appreciation, guys. We talked about appreciation for parents, and we got into talking about the Chanukah and
a lot of stuff.
Oh man, it's fine. Listen, if you made it to even this point, you're still a real one. So
yeah, that's right. You got some good stuff.
We'll work on time control. We will work on timing, but let's wrap it up.
Okay, so
part 2.
I will wrap up and reflect back on some of.
Oh yeah, we did a reflection. We'll redo the reflection.
I wrapped it up by talking about an experience that I had when I was in Skokie Yeshiva, and I gave a shout out to Skokie Yeshiva about to celebrate their 102nd anniversary.
And then I said it's almost as old as you.
He said it's almost as old as me, and then I mentioned that I was just at home, which I don't know if I mentioned that before we cut out, but I was just at home. Sorry, I was just at my parents' house in America, and there was this 100-year book. It's true. 100-year book that the Hebrew Theological College, Skokie Yeshiva, came out with, this big book, and I was looking through with my parents, and we were looking and we saw some pictures, and there was a classmate of mine who was the chef there for many years, who since passed away, and my mom said, we used to go visit you for Shavuos, and he made the best cheesecake.
All right, back to the cheesecake. So
we tied it into cheesecake with me being old. Okay, we'll get there. Then, that's where the whole thing came up, is that when I was there, in Beis Medrash, there would be a table in the front of the dining room with over 100 menorahs. And they would light the menorahs. And I would sit there with my notebook that Eitan has seen. I still have the same notebooks with all my Divrei Torah written in it.
Beautiful Divrei Torah.
And I would sit there and either take notes or review things. And I just remember being able to be so present in that moment and sitting there in the moment. And fast forwarding many, many, many years later, that's like a challenge now.
Right.
And during Chanukah, if I could light those menorahs and be able to just get rid of everything that's going on and be present and reflect and look at the menorah. And what does the menorah symbolize? Everything we talked about, even in the time that we missed, and being able to reflect on that, it would be so.
For sure. I actually think that this pause was a blessing in disguise, because I wanted to say this before. It's very important that if we're not fully present in the moment, we're not getting the most out of the moment. We're not getting even like the
That's
proper
right.
reflection. And if we do,
Yes.
and if we do reflect, that is like gives us like the muscle building to be more present in the next moment. Like we need to get what we could out of the moments because life is this moment. Like this is where we're living.
Mm-hmm.
This moment is so valuable. Like sometimes I try to think this like two different things I want to say. One, like I'll wake up on a day, like, and I was thinking the other day, like I was having a pretty regular day. Nothing crazy happened, but I was happy. But this quote or another quote is that your reality is someone else's dream. And like therefore I'm like, wow, like why was today mid? Because I went to school, hung out with my friends, ate lunch, like that's awesome. Like I got to chill, I had some food, hung out with my friends. Like if I could appreciate that, that's already great. And I still realize there's room for better, but that doesn't have to be mid. Like that is great.
It's a great day.
Like the moment is everything. It's not even like a hyperbole, like exaggeration. Like the moment is everything because there's nothing else. There's actually nothing else.
Right.
It's all about the moment.
It's all about it.
So if we reflect, I guess if we reflect, we get more out of past moments and out of future moments, and that's why we got to reflect.
And that's the challenge. Everybody is Hanukkah's here. Reflect. Take the time. Be present.
Maybe let's present the audience your challenge.
Okay.
Share with them.
So I challenged the guys in yeshiva last night. I challenged them to find a Rebbe, find somebody they trust, and ask the Rebbe, what do you notice that's different about me? Because everybody grows. Every day we grow. Every day we add on strengths. We achieve. And the challenge was that, when we're with ourselves every day, sometimes we don't notice it. It's not always these huge, big flip outs and changes. But my challenge was to go to somebody and ask them, how have I grown? How have I changed? And maybe that can be a challenge for all of us, old and young. Like how have I grown over the last year or over the last whatever? Yeah, find somebody that you trust and ask them.
And you guys, we recorded it before, but I challenged him. I cashed in and I asked him how I've grown, and we just spoke about how I'm almost a normal person.
That's right.
I just have a better mentality towards things and view things better. So
I reflected back to a conversation we had right before we started filming here, and I was remembering a similar conversation we had a year ago, where Eitan was wearing one of his nice pink shirts.
Yes, sir.
And it was day and night between the maturity and the level that he's at today and where he was. So that was, I was able to answer Eitan in that way.
And then I shared about how, like, whatever struggles / like how I've really come far with independence. So I always start with struggles. It's in the negative. Got to flip everything positive. That's right. That's what it's about.
Love and fun.
We got back to the love and fun. All right, well, we'll call our wrap up there.
Okay.
This has been Get to Know You. Like we said, get to know us, get to know each other, get to know yourselves. Reach out with anything you want. Please reach out. We'll post an email. We'll hopefully have some accounts going. Mm-hmm. So,
and tell us your stories. Tell us, if you did this challenge,
questions,
miracles that have happened in your life, questions. We would love to hear from all of you.
Let's get to know you.